All right. So let's continue on with all this bee nonsense. Obviously he came out because a neighbor called and complained. And you know, I don't want to be the person who causes any kind of complaints for my neighbor. I don't. I want to stick to my little property, kind of keep my own business. That's just who I am. I don't want to be the neighbor that people are calling the police about for anything I do. So I do feel bad about that, but I'm going to try to remedy the situation as best I can with the knowledge that I have. Obviously bees are bees, and I can only control them to a certain extent. So I had a pretty interesting conversation with our chief of police after I got that letter, and after I made the other video. I finally got to talk to the guy, and we chatted a little bit about what was going on, and it actually turns out that our city is okay to have bees. It's actually, you know, alright, it's in the ordinance that we can. All we have to do is make sure we get an approval from the city clerk or the chief of police. So now we have to look at what needs to be done to make it okay that they would actually give us the thumbs up for our hive, because they can tell us that no, we can't have it, and we don't want that, right? Oh, side note, when I was talking with him, he said something really interesting. So the chief of police said, quote, "Brother, you got a really nice setup there," unquote. No joke, the chief of police, after kind of looking at the backyard and seeing the apiary setup, thought we had a really nice setup back here, so that's awesome. So during our conversation, we were talking about the placement of the hive. He is a little bit concerned because it's a little bit close to the property line there and the shed of my neighbors. So what he was kind of suggesting was that he would feel more comfortable if I moved it out here somewhere. And while there is a lot of room back here, which he so clearly pointed out, the problem is for me, I specifically built that area back there to have a fence to keep my kids out, which means I would have to then somehow build an entire fenced area here to put those bees, because I don't want my kids running in there and, you know, having any problems with it. And to me, the safest spot was right there where I have them. The other problem I have with moving it back here is that all that morning sun is blocked by these great big gargantuan trees right back here. So way back at the garage, the hive actually gets a lot of very early morning light. And we all know, if you keep bees, that early morning light is good, right? You want your bees to wake up to the warmth of the sun. Now, I mean, I honestly thought that this setup was pretty genius back here. You know, we altered the flight pattern of the bees by putting them behind the greenhouse. They have to fly over top of it. They also have a backstop of the garage. So when they leave, they are going up a ways before they go anywhere. So what I'm thinking about doing is putting a solid fence over there so the, you know, blocks it, because I kind of looked at the Right to Farm Act of Michigan, which would completely allow us to have bees. In fact, we could have 4 hives on the size of property that we have. The one thing they did say is if you have something on the property line, to have a 6-foot fence so that you can make sure you can alter the path of the bees. So I think if we build a fence back there to make sure the neighbors don't have a direct sight of the hive, and it's 6 foot tall to alter the path of the bees, that hopefully the chief of police will look at that and say, okay, it looks like you're in compliance with that part of it, and not have any kind of further issues with the placement of this hive, because I really don't want to move it. I'm inexperienced with bees as it is when it comes to the, you know, all that kind of stuff. This is my first year. Moving the hive, I think, would be a little more outside of my knowledge range. And I really thought all this through, and I set this up because I thought this was the best spot. All right, so we are putting together this little cedar dog-eared fence to hopefully make everyone happy. Like I said, the Right to Farm Act of Michigan definitely has some protections to it. So hopefully this will all comply, and, you know, this whole thing will just go away.
made it pretty clear I'm a rebel. I don't care how I look, what I say, what I do. I made it pretty clear I'm a rebel. I don't care what you say, no, not today, not today. Don't care what you say, rebel, no, not today, rebel.
All right, I got the wall finished. Now I got to move it out here and get it into position. It's a little heavier than I thought it was going to be. So that should be fun. But can you guys believe that? Like, can you believe your neighbors would call the police, of all people, for something you're doing on your property it's not even illegal. It's not even like harmful. Like, I could see if I was over here, like, you know, running a meth lab or something, yeah, I would call the cops on you too. But, you know, and this is like what drives people out of the city, right? I don't want to leave the city. I love the city. I like the life that we have. I love going to the parks, downtown. I like all that stuff. But I also like want to have some freedoms here on my property, and I want people to not bother me by calling the police on me for something I'm doing that's not wrong. It's called freedoms. We're allowed freedoms, and that's all I want. I want to experience my freedoms in my property, in the city, and not be bothered. I don't bother anyone else. Why are people bothering me? We gotta try to move that giant old wall that we just built, that big old fence, into position. So, wish me luck. You ever have that moment where you're doing a project and you realize maybe you didn't think this all the way through? So I'm now trying to drag this 8-foot by 6-foot fence through my yard to put up over in the bee yard, and it's a lot heavier than I thought. As you can see, we got it right here in front of the greenhouse door, but it still needs to slide in all the way back there and along that fence back there. Ooh, this is going to be an adventure.
Well, something's making that music.
Let's make sure to find out what it is.
That was actually pretty surprising. Just removing a few of those fence slats made it way easier to manipulate. Oh, that's good. I gotta remind myself to try to zoom in at this point. I just saw a bumblebee fly out of that hive. Guys ready? Look at that big, beautiful, sexy wall back there. Doesn't that just look great? Actually, I'm super excited to have how that came out. I know I still got a pallet there. That is sort of what's holding it up at the moment. I'm going to put a couple fence posts. I'm going to put them on my side because it'll just be logistically a little bit better. Give me that much more room. I want to have that thing as tight as I can to that fence because I don't like blocking myself in here too much with these guys. But it looks like I still do have to do a little bit more because as you can see here, there's kind of that open gap over there, and I need to make sure that's all blocked out. So I might come either across this way or I might just extend it out to like that pole. One or the other. I still have to put a little bit more fence in there. I think that looks pretty freaking slick. I've been wanting to do something like that actually for a while. So I'm glad I kind of got it done, and it definitely will help in the matter some, I got a feeling. So now the next step. So the next step, now that we got that fence up, is to call the chief of police back and see if he will come out and reassess our apiary area as it currently sits with the new fencing. See what he recommends. Obviously I still got to do a little bit of fence, but we'll get that done before he comes during the week. And then yeah, it's going to be a big idea. Let's see what he thinks of it. If he's okay with it, then maybe we'll be alright and he'll give us our little permit and we'll be completely legal and good to go with our bees. Alright, so stay tuned and we'll see what happens next. As always, be bold and grow bold, and we will see you guys in that very next video.